Here we go. Hey girls, good morning. Happy Monday. First day of a new week. First work day of a new week. I like Mondays because they're a fresh start. They're an opportunity of a week long ahead of you to get things done. Does anybody else feel that way? Is it just me? I like Mondays. They're a busy day for me. I have Zooms right up until 9:30 tonight. But they're a good day. They're a good day. All right, we're on May 18th. Psalm 75 for the choir director, a psalm of Asaph to be sung to the tune, Do Not Destroy. We thank you, O God. We give thanks because you are near. People everywhere tell of your wonderful deeds. God says, At the time I have planned, I will bring justice against the wicked. When the earth quakes and its people live in turmoil, I am the one who keeps its foundations firm. I warned the proud, Stop boasting. I told the wicked, Don't raise your fists. Don't raise your fists in defiance at the heavens, or speak with such arrogance. For no one on earth, from east or west, or even from the wilderness, should raise a defiant fist. It is God alone who judges. He decides who will rise and who will fall. For the Lord holds up a cup in his hand that is full of foaming wine mixed with spices. He pours out the wine in judgment, and all the wicked must drink it, draining it to the dregs. But as for me, I will always proclaim what God has done. I will sing praises to the God of Jacob. For God says, I will break the strength of the wicked, but I will increase the power of the godly. Psalm 76 for the choir director, a psalm of Asaph, a song to be accompanied by stringed instruments. God is honored in Judah. His name is great in Israel. Jerusalem is where he lives. Mount Zion is his home. There he has broken the fiery arrows of the enemy, the shields and swords and weapons of war. You are glorious and more majestic than the everlasting mountains. Our boldest enemies have been plundered. They lie before us in the sleep of death. No warrior could lift a hand against us. At the blast of your breath, O God, their horses and chariots lay still. No wonder you are greatly feared. Who can stand before you when your anger explodes? From heaven you sentenced your enemies. The earth trembled and stood silent before you. You stand up to judge those who do evil, O God, and to rescue the oppressed of the earth. Human defiance only enhances your glory, for you use it as a weapon. Make the vows of the Lord your God and keep them. Let everyone bring tribute to the awesome one, for he breaks the pride of princes, and the kings of the earth fear him. Psalm 77 for Jeduthun, the choir director, a psalm of Asaph. I cry out to God. Yes, I shout. Oh, that God would listen to me. When I was in deep trouble, I searched for the Lord. All night long I prayed with hands lifted towards heaven, but my soul was not comforted. I think of God and I moan, overwhelmed with longing for his help. You don't let me sleep. I am too distressed even to pray. I think of the good old days, long since ended, when my nights were filled with joyful songs. I search my soul and ponder the difference now. Has the Lord rejected me forever? Will he never again be kind to me? Is his unfailing love gone forever? Have his promises permanently failed? Has God forgotten to be gracious? Has he slammed the door on his compassion? And I said that this is my fate. The Most High has turned his hand against me. But then I recall all you have done, O Lord. I remember your wonderful deeds of long ago. They are constantly in my thoughts. I cannot stop thinking about your mighty works. O God, your ways are holy. Is there any God as mighty as you? You are the God of great wonders. You demonstrate your awesome power among the nations, but by your strong arm, you redeemed your people, the descendants of Jacob and Joseph. When the Red Sea saw you, O God, its waters looked and trembled. The seas quaked to its very depths. The clouds poured down rain. The thunder rumbled in the sky. Your arrows of lightning flashed. Your thunder roared from the whirlwind. The lightning lit up the world. The earth trembled and shook. Your road led through the sea, your pathways through the mighty waters, a pathway no one knew was there. You led your people along that road like a flock of sheep, with Moses and Aaron as their shepherds. Psalm 78, a psalm of Asaph. O my people, listen to my instructions. Open your ears to hear what I am saying, for I will speak to you in a parable. I will teach you hidden lessons from our past, stories we have heard and known, stories our ancestors handed down to us. We will not hide these truths from our children. We will tell the next generation about the glorious deeds of the Lord, about his power and his mighty wonders. For he issued his laws to Jacob, he gave his instructions to Israel. He commanded our ancestors to teach them to their children, so the next generation might know them, even the children not born yet, and they in turn will teach their own children. So each generation should set its hope anew on God, not forgetting his glorious miracles and obeying his commands. Then they will not be like their ancestors, stubborn, rebellious, and unfaithful, refusing to give their hearts to God. The warriors of Ephraim, though armed with bows, turned their backs and fled on the day of battle. They did not keep God's covenant and refused to live by his instructions. They forgot what he had done, the great wonders he had showed them, the miracles he did for their ancestors on the plain of Zoan in the land of Egypt. For he divided the sea and led them through, making the water stand up like walls. In the daytime, he led them by a cloud, and all night by a pillar of fire. He split open the rocks in the wilderness to give them water, to give them water as from a gushing spring. He made streams pour from the rock, making the waters flow down like a river. Yet they kept on sinning against him, rebelling against the Most High in the desert. They stubbornly tested God in their hearts, demanding the foods they craved. They even spoke against God himself, saying, God can't give us food in the wilderness. Yes, he can strike a rock so water gushes out, but he can't give his people bread and meat. When the Lord heard them, he was furious. The fire of his wrath burned against Jacob. Yes, his anger rose against Israel, for they did not believe God or trust him to care for them. But he commanded the skies to open. He opened the doors of heaven. He rained down manna for them to eat. He gave them bread from heaven. They ate the food of angels. God gave them all they could hold. He released the east wind from the heavens and guided the south wind by his mighty power. He rained down meat as thick as dust, birds as plentiful as the sand on the seashore. He caused the birds to fall within their camp and all around their tents. The people ate their fill. He gave them what they craved. But before he satisfied their craving, while the meat was yet in their mouths, the anger of God rose against them, and he killed their strongest men. He struck down the finest of Israel's young men. But in spite of this, the people kept sinning. Despite his wonders, they refused to trust him. So he ended their lives in failure, their years in terror. When God began killing them, they finally sought him. They repented and took God seriously. They remembered that God was their rock. The Most High God was their Redeemer. But all they gave him was lip service. They lied to him with their tongues. Their hearts were not loyal to him. They did not keep his covenant. Yet he was merciful and forgave their sins, and did not destroy them all. Many times he held back his anger and did not unleash his fury, for he remembered that they were merely mortal, gone like a breath of wind that never returns. Oh, how often they rebelled against him in the wilderness and grieved his heart in that dry wasteland. Again and again they tested God's patience and provoked the Holy One of Israel. They did not remember his power and how he rescued them from their enemies. They did not remember his miraculous signs in Egypt, his wonders on the plain of Zoan, for he turned their rivers into blood, so no one could drink from the streams. He sent vast swarms of flies to consume them and hordes of frogs to ruin them. He gave their crops to caterpillars. Their harvest was consumed by locusts. He destroyed their grapevines with hail and shattered their sycamore figs with sleet. He abandoned their cattle to the hail, their livestock to bolts of lightning. He loosed on them his fierce anger, all his fury, rage, and hostility. He dispatched against them a band of destroying angels. He turned his anger against them. He did not spare the Egyptians' lives, but ravaged them with the plague. He killed the oldest son in each Egyptian family, the flower of youth throughout the land of Egypt. But he led his own people like a flock of sheep, guiding them safely through the wilderness. He kept them safe so they were not afraid, but the sea covered their enemies. He brought them to the border of his holy land, and to this land of hills he had won for them. He drove out the nations before them. He gave them their inheritance by lot. He settled the tribes of Israel into their homes. But they kept testing and rebelling against God Most High. They did not obey his laws. They turned back and were faithless as their parents. As faithless as their parents. They were as undependable as a crooked bow. They angered God by building shrines to other gods. They made him jealous with their idols. When God heard them, he was very angry, and he completely rejected Israel. Then he abandoned his dwelling at Shiloh, the tabernacle where he lived among the people. He allowed the ark of his might to be captured. He surrendered his glory into enemy hands. He gave his people over to be butchered by the sword, because he was so angry with his own people, his special possession. Their young men were killed by fire. Their young women died before singing their wedding songs. Their priests were slaughtered, and their widows could not mourn their deaths. Then the Lord rose up as though walking from sleep, like a warrior aroused from a drunken stupor. He routed his enemies and sent them to eternal shame. But he rejected Joseph's descendants. He did not choose the tribe of Ephraim. He chose instead the tribe of Judah and Mount Zion, which he loved. There he built his sanctuary as high as the heavens, as solid and enduring as the earth. He chose his servant David, calling him from the sheep pens. He took David from tending the ewes and lambs, and he made him the shepherd of Jacob's descendants, God's own people Israel. He cared for them with a true heart and led them with skillful hands. Some of these are my favorite, the ones of Asaph. I don't know. I like the way they're written. I just like the Psalms of Asaph. All right. We're jumping on in to our book, Bad Behavior by Joe Campo. My coffee's getting cold. Jesus is particularly interested in all of us who can't quite ever get our act together, and often feel like our faith is mostly one faceplant followed by the next. When Jesus adds people to his team, he means for you and me to have a place on it, imperfections and all. If Peter and Andrew and James and John's dearth of credentials didn't seem to slow Jesus down, it suggests that our voice or our words, our ideas or our skills or whatever, even the whatevers we feel are disqualifying, are exactly what he's looking for. Isn't it possible that, despite all the evidence to the contrary, you are the one Jesus is willing to invest himself in? You are the one he wants to hang out with, the one in whom he sees something when you can't even see it in yourself? Keep in mind, this moment on the beach is not a hero story about the disciples. It is not primarily about their willingness to get up and follow. It is about power, kindness, and patience of Jesus to walk unannounced and unanticipated into the lives of this quartet of fishermen and birth disciples out of people who had other things on their minds. To see this story as primarily about us and our response or lack of it is to miss the whole point of what is going on here. What is at stake is not how courageous our faith is and whether it is enough to qualify us as real card-carrying disciples. What it all comes down to is how God is at work. At the heart of the story is the fact that Jesus can and does call us, and not only calls us, but also creates in us the ability to respond, just as he worked that same miracle in those 4 fishermen. What would ensue from here would be a whole series of flops and false starts for all 12 disciples, not unlike our own. But the story doesn't end that way. There will be more to it, because Jesus. He never speaks the word hope in the Gospels, but that is because in every situation he was the hope. He is the hope. He embodies it for us and for our discipleship. Does Jesus call you too? The answer to that question is an unambiguous yes. It's always yes. It's never not yes. When Jesus says, "Come, follow me," he directs that invitation to you. He bids you join him on his journey. No longer need there be an accusing voice charging us with, "Wait a minute, who do you think you are?" Instead, a new voice comes into our life which declares, "You are the one I've invited to go with me. You are the one I have picked for my team. You are the one I want to invest myself in. You are the one I want to hang out with. You are the one I am calling." The voice you want to be paying attention to is not the one which says, "Who do you think you are?" but instead the one which says, "Come, follow me." It's all right, then, not to be sure of what it all means and how it will all work out. Neither were the first disciples. It's okay if you don't have a dramatic story or can't point to a particular moment when you left something behind or are still trying to figure it all out. All that matters is that Jesus has seen you as you are, has loved you and called you to follow him, to belong to him. When you get that part, he'll take care of the rest. Just ask the disciples. A long time ago, Jesus called me to follow. He still does. In my case, it meant to seminary and ministry. In your case, it might look like something else entirely. It's taken me a lifetime to figure out what it means and why. Most often, it's not much more obvious now than it was 40 plus years ago. But his call to belong to him and to follow him is still with me, still active, just as it is for you. Which means the next question is, so Jesus, where are we going next? Okay. If you have the book, I encourage you to read through the questions. I think it's too much for me to read through them live because you're not going to retain them. I hope you have the book. And if you do, you should work through the questions at the end. Just read through them and answer them. There's a whole lot of them. And they're really good discussion questions or personal reflection questions. So make sure you sit down and do that. And we'll jump into the next section tomorrow. All right, my dears. Let me scroll through the chat. I know, isn't it crazy, Lois? Yes, potential. That was the word, Mary. Potential. There's so much potential in Monday. Unspoken prayer request for Miss Karen. Absolutely. And we're praying for Mary and her daughter, Lizzie. Yeah, Karen Dalton mentions how things were orchestrated for Mary's daughter, Lizzie, and it couldn't be more true. Mary's daughter, Marvelous Mary Malone's daughter, had some seizures starting late last week, and the reason was unknown. And then she headed off to Ohio for a birthday weekend and ended up having more seizures. But the fact that she was in Ohio meant she was close to the right facility to find out what was going on very, very quickly and was able to get treatment, a surgery on her brain over the weekend, very, very quick, from finding out the seizures to what was wrong to fixing it. And now she's recovering in a matter of 4 days. It was very, very well orchestrated by God. And now Lizzie is recovering and doing well. And so, yes, for all of you that knew what was going on, I know I speak on behalf of Mary because she mentioned it above. That thank you for all your prayers for Lizzie. And I think for me, when I see a situation like that play out with such clear intervention from the Lord's hand, it's, I don't know what the word is, but it's a reminder, a fresh reminder of God being at work in all things all the time. Well, anyway. All right, girls, let's go ahead and end in prayer. God, our Father, thank you for this day. Thank you for our time together, for the reading of your word, and for this devotional from Joe. God, we thank you and praise you for what you're doing in all of our lives. God, I just thank you for my friends here, and I just pray that you would bless each and every single one this week as we face a week full of potential and opportunity to honor you with all the things that we have going on in our lives, helping us to keep you at the center of our focus. God, I lift up our friend Karen to you today for an unspoken request. You know exactly what is on her heart. And God, I just ask you to bring her peace and pray for her situation, God, that you would be exactly what she needs in this moment. God, we also thank you for our friend Lizzie and her life and how you so clearly orchestrated all these things this weekend for Lizzie. And we just praise you and thank you for the surgical outcome And God, we just ask for healing for Lizzie and ask for strength as she recovers from this, and that her body will heal exactly how it needs to, and just give her peace about the situation, and as well as her family. God, we just thank you and praise you for all that you do for us, for the love you give us, the mercy, the grace that we so don't deserve, and yet you give us fresh each morning mercies. God, we love you and we praise you today. In your precious holy name I pray. Amen. All right, girly girls, I love you all. I've got to go work out. Actually, it's leg day. I'm not going to tense up my leg for you to see the muscle in that, but I got quad muscles coming. Go do your squats. If you're part of group coaching, go get your squats on, okay? I'm in a plank challenge right now, and I've had to do 4 planks a day, every day. And I'm tired of planks. Can I just tell you, I'll be glad when the plank challenge is over. I don't like it. I do not like doing a plank challenge. All right. I love you, ladies. I hope you have a fabulous day.